Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to discuss a new topic, that is job application letter. In this class, we will discuss how and why do we write job application letter. Let's begin with this topic. Any candidate who is looking for a job, what will the candidate do? First of all, the candidate will look for the job. That means the candidate will search for the job. Let's assume the candidate saw an advertisement. The candidate saw an advertisement in a newspaper. So the source is newspaper. There may be several other sources as well. We'll discuss in detail about that also. So the candidate who is looking for the job found an advertisement in a newspaper for the suitable post. The newspaper is, suppose, let's take an example, that is Hindustan Times. Okay. Now, after searching for the job in a newspaper in Hindustan Times, what will the candidate do? The candidate will apply, and the candidate will apply for that job. The candidate will apply for the job, and we have a thing which we call job application letter. So for applying for the job, the candidate will write job application letter. Okay. Now that job application letter, in job application letter, what do we mention? Let's understand this also. I hope you understood that, right? So whenever any candidate, moral of the story is, whenever any candidate who is looking for the job will search for the suitable job, and after searching for the suitable job, the candidate will apply for the job, right? And then he can apply in several ways, maybe with the help of an email, maybe with a letter. So with letter, the candidate will write a job application letter. Now, what sort of details will be mentioned in a job application letter? First, for what post the candidate is applying, and from which source the candidate got the information about the vacancy. So both the details would be mentioned in job application letter. Apart from this, the candidate will mention some of the detail about his or her expertise and some of the details about his or her skills and knowledge. So these details can be mentioned in the job application letter. And after mentioning so many details like this, we want something, or the candidate wants something. What? The candidate may be looking for an opportunity. Looking for an opportunity. Even you also. If you will apply for a job, what you need? You need an interview. You need a call for an interview, right? If there is no process for interview, maybe written test. So these details will be mentioned in the job application letter in separate paragraphs. In one para we can mention like post applied, from which source the information is collected. In another paragraph, the candidate can mention expertise, skills and knowledge. Apart from this, the candidate can mention whatever he wants, whatever she wants, right? So what basically we want when we apply for a job? We want an opportunity for an interview, or maybe for a written test, whatever the process the organization follows. So by mentioning all these details, we write job application letter. Okay. Now we'll understand two more things. To whom will we write the job application letter? If it is mentioned in the question that you need to write this job application letter to this person, suppose there is a vacancy in a school, right, and there is nothing mentioned to whom to write, then you can write that letter to the principal, because principal would be considered the highest authority of the school, right? So you can write that letter to the principal. In corporates, in companies, in big companies, there is a person appointed for these kind of things, and the person is HR manager, human resource manager. So most of the corporates has this particular department, that is HR department as well, and the head of this department is called HR manager. So recruitment related, termination related, these kind of tasks is handled by the HR department of an organization. So you are applying for a job in an organization, then in that case we can write the letter to the HR manager also. I hope that is clear to you. Now, but do you think your employer would like to know these details only? I personally think these are less information. So we'll talk about some more details. Here we go. Now, with job application letter, we enclose one more thing. That is resume. That is resume. So resume is a kind of document. Resume is a kind of document which provides entire detail of the candidate. Let's understand this. Resume is a document prepared by the candidate. In that document, the candidate mention entire details, including education, experience, hobbies, strength, and some other details like personal and professional information. So this is a document prepared by the candidate. Okay, some other names similar to this. One is CV. The full form of CV is curriculum vitae or vitae. The full form of CV is curriculum vitae or vitae. Okay, don't get confused with this. So if in question it is said write CV, will follow the same information, but originally there are some technical differences. Okay, you might have heard about biodata as well. Okay, so biodata is also a document which contains entire detail about the candidate, but nowadays when we talk about biodata, especially in India, it is only prepared for the purpose of getting married. This is the truth, right? Biodata, it contains biological details of the candidate. Biodata, it contains biological details of the candidate, and nowadays, especially in India, this document is prepared for the purpose of getting married. I hope that's clear to you, right? Let's begin with this. Now, as we have discussed that what sort of information will be there in the job application letter. Now, we will discuss what sort of information will be there in the resume. Let's begin with this. You would agree with this that your prospective employer or trainer would like to know name and contact details, right? Whenever any candidate or you are applying for the job, your prospective employer or that candidate's prospective employer or trainer would like to know personal details. And apart from personal details, the most important thing in personal detail, that is name and contact details, right? So the person, wherever you are applying for the job, the most important information is name and contact details. Okay, now when we talk about name and contact details, it would be mentioned in the resume. Why name and contact details are required? You applied for a job, you got selected, or the organization is inviting you for the next process, that is written test. Can you please tell me how will that organization contact you? The only procedure, the only thing, if the candidate will mention or if you will mention your contact details, then only that organization can contact, right? Now, when we talk about contact details, there are several contact details which you can mention. First, you can mention your email address, right? Apart from email address, the candidate can mention phone number as well, and apart from phone number, the candidate can mention address also. So address, it may be correspondence address as well, or it may be your permanent address as well, where the person can communicate with you, right? Okay. Apart from name and contact details, few more personal details can be mentioned, which are very useful and which the prospective employer or trainer would like to know. Let's understand these details. Here we go. So when we talk about personal details, in personal details we have several details. We can mention father's name, mother's name, right? We can mention in personal details, we can mention father's name, mother's name. Apart from mentioning father's name or mother's name, the candidate needs to mention date of birth as well. Date of birth is written to make sure the candidate is not overage or not underage, to ensure that the candidate is not minor, okay, below the age of 18 years. To make sure this date of birth is required. Otherwise, what will happen if the organization is giving a job to a minor? It is like violating the rules, right? Any organization cannot give job to a minor, so it is like violating the rules, okay? So date of birth is must. Apart from date of birth, the candidate needs to mention the gender as well. Why gender is required? Understand this. With this example, a boy named Soumya Sharma applied for a job, but Mr. Soumya Sharma did not mention gender, and the interviewer is reading this name as Soumya Sharma. Now there is a misunderstanding. I hope you got my point. Sometimes it happens that with the name, the next person is unable to identify the gender, right? That is why now this name can be pronounced as Soumya as well, and this name can be pronounced as Soumya as well. The spelling would be same, right? So it can create misunderstanding. Some names, there are few names which can create misunderstanding. So to avoid any sort of misunderstanding, we need to mention the gender as well, okay? Apart from this, we have mentioned father's name, date of birth, gender. One can mention nationality and passport number as well. If the candidate is applying in any foreign country, in personal details, that person can mention passport number as well, nationality as well, right? If applying in India, nationality, if you are mentioning that, that is okay, no problem. But if the candidate or if you are applying abroad, you need to mention nationality, and the most important thing is your passport number, right? Okay. Apart from nationality, the candidate needs to mention the marital status. some organization ask for unmarried people, some organization ask for married people. That means, I mean to say that some organization offer jobs for married people, some organization offer jobs to unmarried people. So mentioning this info is quite helpful for the prospective employer or trainer. And the last thing which one can mention in personal detail, that is languages known. That is languages known. Now languages known can help you in many ways. Let's understand this. A person is applying for a sales related job in Gujarat. Now they need people who has knowledge of local language. You mentioned Hindi, English, Gujarati and Rajasthani. Now the person who is having knowledge of Gujarati will be given priority. So language known, sometimes it makes a good impression. So we have discussed about name and contact details that will be mentioned in the resume. Apart from this, we have discussed about personal details. Number 3, in professional resume, people mention their career objective. Career objective is something like a statement. It is like a statement where the candidate tells the employer or trainer what he or she wishes to do in his life. So it's like a statement which is presented, which is written in the resume. Number 4, career summary. Career summary is again an important aspect. Why career summary is an important aspect? Because you will mention your education or experience in details. But if the employer, prospective employer or trainer or the interviewer not having enough time, he can get enough idea by reading the career summary. In career summary, you can mention your expertise, some of your skills, knowledge, and your total number of experience. These details can be mentioned in career summary. Okay. Now, let's begin with some logical things. Apart from this, your prospective employer or trainer, at any cost, the person would like to know about your education. If you have some sort of professional qualification, your prospective employer or trainer would like to know about your education. It may be your professional qualification, it may be your academic qualification. Okay. And experience as well. Any employer, any interviewer, any trainer who would offer you jobs would like to know if you have any sort of experience related to the job. In experience, there are certain categories where the employer would like to know. One is name of the organization, previous organization, right? What was your position over there? Apart from this, job responsibilities, and the last, how long did you work over there? That means duration. So these details could be mentioned under this heading, that is experience. Okay. Number 7, and I hope you would agree with my point that any prospective employer or trainer or the interviewer would like to know about these details. But if the candidate is not having any sort of experience, then in that case, what could be done? Understand this. In that case, we can mention fresher over here. Fresher means a person who does not have any sort of experience, or we need not to write this particular heading in our resume, so that it would be easily identifiable that the person is not having any sort of experience. Okay. Apart from this, the candidate can mention the hobbies. We need to remember the candidate should make sure this the hobbies are not opposite to the job or against the job. It may be different, no problem, but it may not be against the job. Okay. Number 8, the candidate can mention if he or she has done any sort of achievement in his or her life. Then the person can mention his or her achievements as well, right? Number 9, we can mention strength as well, like positive attitude towards life, cooperative in nature, dedicated towards work. So these details, these strength can be mentioned, right? Hardworking, punctual, this is not required. Mention something good like cooperative in nature, dedicated towards work. So these details can be mentioned in strength. Okay. So we are discussing about these details in a professional resume. As per the professional resume, we'll discuss in another class that what information will we choose while writing the resume. Okay, I'm just giving you a brief idea about a professional resume. Okay, so that it will be helpful for you in future as well. Okay, apart from these details, one can mention extracurricular activities. One can mention about extracurricular activities. If the candidate has participated in any sort of activities, curricular activities, these details can be mentioned over here. Now the next point comes, that is reference. I will write over here if asked. In our local language, which we call jack and check, right? So this is something like this, an approach, right? Some organization asks for references, right? In that case, it is necessary to mention the references. But if the organization hasn't asked for any references, no need to mention this, right? We can put this heading and we can mention will be provided upon request. We can write this. Otherwise, it is not required. Okay. And one more details which we can mention, that is declaration, or declaration by the candidate whose resume is written, right? So in resume, when we talk about resume, just give me a second. Okay, perfect. So in resume, when we talk about a declaration, so declaration is a kind of statement that all the information provided in this resume are correct and to the best of my knowledge. So this particular statement is presented in the resume, right? So these approx 11-12 detail points which we have discussed, that these are the part of every single resume, right? In the next class, we will discuss how we can write an effective job application letter, and among these 12 points, which points will we cover, right? So we will discuss these details in the next lecture. I hope you have understood this topic. If you have any queries related to this topic, please let me know so that we can solve these queries.